This is a story about redemption and self-defense. Imagine you grew up with almost nothing in one of Boston's toughest neighborhoods. You joined a boy band at 12, became the one the crowd went crazy for, the one who could dance, the one who could perform.
My girl's like candy, a candy tree. She knocks me high up off my feet. She's so fine, as can be. I know this girl is just candy girl.
And then at 17, they kicked you out. They said you were too much, too loud, too wild, too yourself. So what do? Well, you go into a recording studio with a 20-year-old producer from Harlem and you make a song. Not a comeback song, not a please take me back song. You make a song that says, I don't owe anyone an explanation for who I am.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I don't give a damn. Getting girls is how I live. Some ask me questions, why am I so real? But they don't understand me.
That was 1988, and that opening, Bobby Brown didn't write it. He didn't rehearse it. He just walked up to the mic and just said it in one take.
Tell me why. It's my
Almost 20 years later, the song would have a very similar meaning for the best-selling teenage artist of all time. Someone who had the eyes of the world on her, following a Las Vegas failed marriage and a very intense subsequent relationship and engagement.
People can take everything away from you, but they can never take away your truth. But the question is, can you handle mine? They say I'm crazy. I really don't care.
For Bobby Brown, it was a statement. For Britney Spears, the song became an act of cultural reclamation that only became more resonant viewed through the lens of the conservatorship she was placed under in 2008. The song she chose to claim her independence 4 years earlier became, in retrospect, a prelude to a 13-year period in which she legally had almost none. Welcome to Uncovering the Cover. I'm your host, Diego Pinzon, and today we're going deep into one of the most defined songs ever to hit #1 in the US. And then we're going to discover how it became a weapon of self-defense for someone who needed it just as badly. This is the story of my prerogative. To understand why this song exists, you have to understand where Bobby Brown came from and what happened to him. Let me take you to the Orchard Park housing projects in Roxbury, Boston, 1978. Bobby is 9 years old. His neighborhood has one of the highest crime rates in the city. Music, specifically the church music his family listened to and the soul and funk he heard drifting from apartment windows, is both escape and education. At 12, he joined New Edition, 5 black teenagers from Boston who are about to become one of the biggest acts of the early 1980s. Bobby is the dancer, the performer, the wild card. And here's the thing about wild cards in boy bands. People love them until they don't. The label, the management, the other members of the band, eventually someone decides the wild card is too much. So in 1986, Bobby Brown was voted out of New Edition. He was 17 years old.
Welcome back to Video Soul. The guy that you hear talking right now is Bobby Brown. He keeps saying, I should have been in that shot. I should have been with you all. You know, I got to ask you, Bobby, it sounds like you kind of miss the guys.
Of course. I mean, I'm still a New Edition being out there, you know, being, you know, playing the role of Bobby Brown.
Wait a minute. I think Ralph disagrees with you.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you do, don't you?
Nah.
I mean, after almost 10 years.
On a straight up, you know, I still feel I'm a part of New Edition. So when they leave me out of things like that, it makes me feel. I just don't know what to do. You know, I want to be back. I want to come back. Fellas, can I come back?
You're hearing it now.
Beat it.
Fellas.
Beat it. No.
That was Brown in a 1990 interview with BET's Video Soul together with his former bandmates. His first solo album, King of Stage, in 1986 is fine. It's competent, it's polished. It is also completely not Bobby Brown. The label wanted him smooth. They wanted him adult contemporary. They wanted him manageable. Bobby went along with it, partly because he was a teenager and what choice did he have? But it honestly didn't feel right.
I remember the very first time you the picture of love in my heart. You and me.
You hear that? That's not the Bobby Brown Boston knew. That's not the kid who used to do backflips on stage. That's someone who's been told to behave himself. And then he met Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley is from Harlem. He's 20 years old. He has been making music since he was a child. Literally. His mother used to drag him out of his neighbor's apartment where he'd spend hours playing the piano. By the mid-1980s, Riley has figured out something nobody else in the industry has quite nailed yet. What happens when you combine the drum programming and attitude of hip-hop with the melody and emotionality of R&B? What happens when you make music that belongs to both worlds and neither? He pioneers the New Jack Swing, a fusion that transformed black music in the 1980s and beginning of the 90s. And My Prerogative was going to be its anthem. Let's talk a little bit about the New Jack Swing first. This rhythm is a high-energy bridge between the gritty beats of hip-hop and the melodic hooks of R&B. Formally named by journalist Barry Michael Cooper in 1987, the genre is defined by its swing beat rhythm, often crafted on the Roland TR-808 and SP-1200. Janet Jackson's album Control from 1986 is often credited as the first big commercial success of the New Jack Swing.
Give me a beat.
Those beats dominated music around that time. It even penetrated TV shows like Living Color, Video Soul, which we just heard, Soul Train, and The Arsenio Hall Show, among others. Will Smith, with his sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, exported the New Jack Swing around the world.
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel-Air.
The genre reached peak cultural dominance through other landmark albums like Keith Sweat's Make It Last Forever, Michael Jackson's Dangerous, and Bobby Brown's second solo album, Don't Be Cruel. Tired from the control his label and management wanted over him while recording Don't Be Cruel, Bobby Brown brings a list of grievances. Former bandmates have been giving interviews. Critics have been calling him a troublemaker. His own label isn't sure how they can market him. Riley sets up the drum machine, that hard, syncopated beat that sounds like nothing on radio at the time. He lays down the bass. He plays the 5-note synth riff that you could hum to someone born 30 years later, and they know it immediately. And then he hands Bobby the mic and says, "Just talk." The first few words on the song after the first chorus are just things that came to Bobby Brown in the moment as he was about to record the song. He didn't rehearse them or write them. He was just referencing those grievances about his critics and former bandmates. The song and the music video opens with the tires of a car screeching, so if you're listening to the podcast while driving, please don't be scared. That beat is something extraordinary. It's harder than anything on R&B radio. The kick drum doesn't ask permission. The snare hits like a door being slammed. Riley is essentially daring pop radio to keep up. And Bobby Brown, for the first time, sounds exactly like himself.
Really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I don't give a damn.
The song enters the Billboard Hot 100 in October 1988. By January of 1989, it's number 1, and in total, it spent 24 weeks on the chart, 15 of those in the top 40. Bobby Brown has done what nobody believed he could do after New Edition. He has become bigger than the band that threw him out, and he has done it entirely on his own terms.
Tell me why. Don't need permission, make my own decisions. That's my prerogative. It's my prerogative. It's the way that I want to live.
Fast forward 16 years. It is now 2004. Britney Spears is just 22 years old, and her life is front page news in a way that is, looking back, genuinely disturbing in what it normalized. Britney is being photographed without pause. Her relationships are being dissected on television. Her body is publicly rated. Commentators and journalists, including people who would today be considered to be engaging in straightforward harassment, analyze her choices as though she has forfeited the right to make them.
You've had a rough year. You've had a year that would test a lot of people.
It was pretty rough. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Ah, weird. Hello. Oh my goodness. Hello. Ew. Strong Britney. Yeah, it was a weird time. Ew. I'm embarrassed. Can we stop?
That interview with Diane Sawyer on ABC, where Spears cries multiple times, has now lived in infamy, and is something the singer has denounced publicly multiple times. And in this context, her management team brings her a song, and she says yes immediately.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I don't give a damn. Getting boys is how I live. Some ask me questions.
The song is produced by the Swedish duo Bloodshy and Avant, and notice what they have done here. The original song is New Jack Swing, that is specific late 1980s American black music hybrid that we talked about in the first segment. Britney's version is wall-to-wall sound. There is nowhere to hide because she doesn't want to hide. This is a genuinely interesting musical choice that is worth sitting with. When you cover a song, you have options. You can do a faithful reproduction, you can reinterpret it gently, or you can demolish the original architecture and use only the floor plan. Bloodshy and Avant chose demolition. The melody is there, the lyrics are there, but sonically, this is a completely different song. It belongs to a completely different world. And Britney's vocal choice is fascinating too. Bobby Brown sang this as a young man speaking from defiance, from a place of heat and frustration. Britney sings it as someone who is almost exhausted. There is a flatness to her delivery in sections that reads in 2024 as the weariness of someone who has been fighting the same battle for years. Whether or not that was intentional, it lands differently than Bobby's version. It feels like a declaration and more like a closing argument.
Can't tell me what to do. Don't get me wrong, I'm really not soaked. Ego trips is not my thing. All these strange relationships really gets me down.
The music video makes the subtext explicit. Britney parties, she dances, she does exactly what the tabloids accused her of doing. And she looks at the camera like, yes, and in defiance. Screenshots of actual headlines appear on screen. The video is essentially a lawsuit against public opinion, and it's filed in the form of a pop song. The cover reaches #1 in Australia, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, Ireland, and New Zealand. Bobby's version was an American #1. Britney's version is a global one. A song about personal autonomy, written by a black teenager from Boston about the music industry, becomes a worldwide anthem for a white pop star from Louisiana about the tabloid press. The song has found a new mission. It's the same words, it's the same title. It is a completely different act of defiance. Here's something the two versions have in common that's rarely talked about. Both Bobby Brown and Britney Spears had their autonomy taken from them after this song. Brown's I do what I want public persona was weaponized against him throughout the 1990s and 2000s, used to paint every personal difficulty as a consequence and character flaw rather than circumstance. He has spoken about how the song that was meant to assert his freedom became, in the media narrative, a confession of irresponsibility. And Britney Spears, 4 years after recording her version of My Prerogative, was placed under a legal conservatorship that controlled her finances, her career, her medical treatment, and her personal decisions. For 13 years, a woman who had literally recorded a song called My Prerogative had, by law, no prerogative at all. The irony is almost too much, except it isn't irony. It's the story of what happens when certain people assert their autonomy and the world decides to take it from them anyway.
Now to another case making national news for months now, and a late headline today involving Britney Spears and her fight to control her own money, her own earnings. A judge late today ending the nearly 14-year-long conservatorship, giving her control over her life and her fortune. ABC's Kaylee Hartung with the scene at the court.
Tonight, cheers erupting outside this courthouse in Los Angeles. Hundreds of Britney Spears' most loyal fans overcome with emotion moments after a judge terminated the conservatorship that's controlled Britney's life and finances for nearly 14 years. The judge saying the conservatorship is no longer required, as her attorney assured the court safety nets are in place financially and personally to put Britney in a position to succeed and protect her $60 million fortune.
How will Britney Spears' life be different when she wakes up tomorrow as opposed to the last nearly 14 years?
She will wake up tomorrow for the first time in 14 years as a free woman.
The conservatorship unraveling with stunning speed after Britney demanded it end 5 months ago, describing it as abusive and exploitive. Moments ago, Britney tweeting, "Good God, I love my fans so much it's crazy. I think I'm gonna cry the rest of the day. Best day ever. Praise the Lord. Can I get an amen? Hashtag freed Britney."
When the conservatorship ended in 2021, and when Britney's memoir was published in 2023, My Prerogative acquired yet another layer of meaning. It is now a song that exists in 3 eras: Bobby Brown's 1988 declaration, Britney's 2004 reclamation, and the retrospective reading of the 2020s, in which both versions feel like documents of something much larger than the artist's personal situations. What does it mean to cover a song? At its most basic, It means you hear something in someone else's music that you need. Something that expresses what you could not express yourself, or that expresses it better than you could have alone. Bobby Brown needed a framework to say, I left that band and I am not sorry. Britney Spears needed a framework to say, you can write about me every day and I will still be here, still dancing, still making the choices I choose to make. Two very different people, two very different moments. One song, written by a kid from Roxbury and a kid from Harlem, that turned out to contain enough room for both of them.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I don't give a damn. Getting girls is how I live.
Some ask me questions, why am I so real? But they don't understand me. I really don't know the deal about my sister. Trying hard to make it right. Not long ago, before I won this fight, I said,
Everybody's talking all this stuff about me. Why don't they just let me live? Tell me why. I don't need permission to make my own decisions.
oh, that's my prerogative. That's my prerogative. It's my prerogative.
This has been Uncovering the Cover, and that's my prerogative. From Roxbury to global pop radio, from New Jack Swing to electropop, from Bobby Brown to Britney Spears and back again. If this episode made you think differently about the song, and I hope you listen to it back to back later tonight, please share this episode with someone, leave a review, and tell me in the comments which version hits harder for you. Bobby's raw, spontaneous original, or Britney's exhausted, glittering reclamation. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok and subscribe on YouTube, and share the show with a friend who loves music culture, because our culture is better preserved when music is shared. We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening.